The trust we place in our partners is the invisible bond that holds every relationship together. But what happens when this bond is torn? A message on the cell phone, a secret meeting, a moment that shakes the world. Infidelity is one of the biggest fears in a relationship. In a time when the lines between right and wrong are increasingly blurred by technology, social expectations, and personal freedoms, the age-old question keeps coming up. Who cheats more, men or women, and why? What deep, often hidden motives drive people to break the trust of their loved ones? To answer these questions, we must penetrate the complex layers of biology, psychology, and social norms. Introduction to the topic: the importance of loyalty in relationships. Loyalty is more than a simple promise. It is a fundamental part of most romantic relationships, an unspoken contract that represents trust, respect, and commitment. In the eyes of many people, infidelity is a betrayal of these core values and can deeply shake the foundation of a relationship. But what exactly does loyalty mean? For some, it's about maintaining physical loyalty, not desiring anybody other than your partners. For others, emotional fidelity is even more crucial. The exclusive exchange of feelings and thoughts that creates an intimate bond that can only exist within the relationship. Infidelity, on the other hand, is not always so clearly defined. It can take many forms, from secret affairs to emotional cheating to virtual connections created through social media and dating apps. The modern world has expanded the definition of infidelity and created new challenges for understanding fidelity. Infidelity is a widely studied phenomenon in psychology and sociology. It is often a symptom of deeper problems in the relationship, be it unresolved conflicts, lack of communication, or unmet needs. But sometimes it seems to happen without these triggers. The lure of novelty, opportunity, or the need for validation sometimes drives people into the arms of an affair. There are two types of cheating: emotional versus physical cheating. Before we delve deeper into the discussion, it is important to clearly define what we mean by fraud. Traditionally, cheating is often equated with sexual acts outside of the relationship, but this view is too simple today. Many people experience emotional cheating, that is, when their partner develops a close, intimate connection with another person, as just as hurtful as physical infidelity. Physical usually involves a sexual relationship or at least a physical approach with a person outside of the relationship. This is the classic affair that often takes place in secret. More emotional, whereas it occurs when a person seeks emotional intimacy and support from someone outside of the relationship. This can be expressed in deep conversations, intense friendships, or even platonic connections that undermine the emotional connection to the primary relationship. Interestingly, studies show that men and women react differently to the two forms of cheating. Men tend to view physical cheating as worse, while women often view emotional cheating as a greater betrayal. This raises the question: what role do gender and socialization play in our perception of infidelity? An overview of the topic of infidelity in modern society. In our modern society, the understanding of relationships and loyalty has evolved significantly. In the past, monogamous relationships were considered the norm, and marriage vows were sacrosanct. But in the 21st century, with the increasing acceptance of divorce, open relationships, and the questioning of traditional role models, the definitions of loyalty and betrayal have also changed. Social media and technology have made it incredibly easier to access potential affair partners. Dating apps like Tinder or social networks like Instagram offer people ways to connect outside of their relationship that didn't exist decades ago. This has expanded the gray areas of cheating. Is flirting with someone you met online cheating? Where does emotional betrayal begin, and how far can one go without overstepping one's moral boundaries? There are also cultural differences in how infidelity is perceived. In some countries or communities, affairs are almost a normal part of life, while in other societies they are viewed as an unforgivable betrayal. But regardless of cultural differences, the question remains: who cheats more, men or women? While circumstances have changed, the questions surrounding fidelity and infidelity remain timeless. In the coming sections, we'll take a closer look at the science, psychological explanations, and societal influences to understand who cheats more and why. Statistics and research. Who cheats more? When it comes to infidelity, there are countless opinions and assumptions. Men, it is often said, cannot remain faithful. Women, on the other hand, are more emotional and loyal, right? But are these old cliches actually true? The reality is far more complicated and surprising than many people think. Infidelity is one of those topics that is talked about a lot, but rarely discussed honestly. The shadow of infidelity lurks in almost every relationship, whether as a silent fear or an open wound. But what do the numbers really say? Who cheats more, men or women? This is where it gets exciting. The statistics provide a picture that forces us to look deeply into the complex dynamics of the genders and their relationship habits. Evolutionary theorists argue that men may be naturally more prone to cheating because their biological mission is to produce as many offspring as possible to spread their genes. Women, on the other hand, who invest more energy and time in raising children, would have a biological interest in finding a partner who would support and secure them in the long term. But is this really still relevant in our modern world? Interestingly, recent studies show that women may also have a biological basis for infidelity. Some research suggests that women are more inclined to take risks and pursue sexual diversity during certain phases of their menstrual cycle. This theory suggests that women, especially during ovulation, may instinctively try to ensure the best genetic characteristics for their offspring, even outside of a committed relationship. But these biological explanations are at odds with a modern reality in which societal norms, personal desires, and cultural influences often override biology. Humans are not controlled exclusively by instincts. Our behavior is a result of a complex mix of biology and social environment. The role of social media in the digital world. One click and the temptation is within reach. Over the past few decades, not only has the way people communicate with each other changed, but also how they form and maintain relationships. Dating apps like Tinder, Bumble, or OkCupid, but also social networks like Instagram and Facebook have revolutionized the way we interact with each other. In the past, it was more difficult for men and women to contact potential affairs outside of their committed relationships. It took time, planning, and often courage to approach someone in real life. Today, a simple swipe or like is enough to create new connections. The inhibition threshold is lower, and temptation is omnipresent. Social media creates an illusion of closeness and availability. Even an innocent message or comment can lead to deep emotional or sexual exchanges that can undermine the foundation of a committed relationship. Studies show that people who regularly use social media are more likely to experience temptation and are also more likely to push boundaries, both emotionally and physically. Men and women often use these platforms in different ways, but both genders have the same opportunities in the digital world to distance themselves from their own relationships and make new contacts. Infidelity through the ages. A look at history. It would be a
¿Sabes?
mistake to think that infidelity is a purely modern phenomenon. Historically, infidelity has always existed, although under very different circumstances. In many traditional societies, men were allowed to have multiple wives while strict monogamy was imposed on women. In some cultures, polygamy was even socially accepted, and male infidelity was viewed as an expression of power and status. In ancient Rome or Greece, it was not uncommon for married men to have affairs with prostitutes or slaves, while women were urged to be faithful and chaste. It wasn't just about lust, but also about power and control. In many historical contexts, women have not had the opportunity to exercise their sexual freedoms without risking social or even fatal consequences. But as society developed, the role of women and their position in marriage also changed. The pressure to remain monogamous was exacerbated in the Middle Ages by the institution of the Church, which preached fidelity as a divine commandment. Breaking these norms was viewed as a serious crime, especially for women. Today we are freed from these rigid ideas, but the core conflict remains. Human nature struggles for freedom, even within bondage. But where is the limit? And why is the urge to cross it so strong? In these first few sections, we've taken an in-depth look at the statistics, cultural shifts, and role of social media that influence infidelity. Every aspect shows that the question, who cheats more, is far more complex than simple cliches would lead us to believe. Psychological reasons for infidelity in men. Men cheat because they are insatiable, because they always want more. It's that simple, right? But behind this simple assumption lies a much deeper truth. Men don't always cheat just out of lust, but often out of unmet emotional needs, insecurities, and the constant search for validation. Infidelity is rarely just physical. It is often a desperate cry for something that is missing. Biological and evolutionary theories. Are men made to cheat? One of the often cited reasons why men are more likely to cheat is evolutionary theories. These say that, purely biologically speaking, men are programmed to spread their genes as widely as possible. Nature is about reproduction and maintaining one's genes. And from this perspective, men may have a greater sexual interest in maximizing their offspring. In theory, it is male instinct to have more than one partner. But as simple as this explanation may sound, in reality it falls short. While biology can certainly play a role, modern research shows that psychological and social factors need to be given much greater weight when it comes to men's infidelity. Insecurity and the need for confirmation. Men often cheat for more than just a simple sexual desire. Many feel emotionally unfulfilled, neglected, or underestimated in their role as a partner, father, or provider. This lack of validation can lead men to seek approval outside of their relationship. An affair can boost egos that have been damaged by the pressure to live up to expectations, whether at work, in the family, or in society. A compliment from a stranger can act as a blow to the insecurities bubbling deep inside. For many men, an affair is less an escape from the relationship and more an escape from their own fears and feelings of inadequacy. It is often the men who feel like they are not enough in their main relationship who cheat emotionally or sexually. They crave the feeling of being wanted and valued, which they may be missing in their committed relationship. Especially in long relationships or marriages, the initial romance and passion can wane, and men look for the kick of falling in love for the first time in order to feel alive again. Social pressure in the male role model men are often faced with a variety of expectations. Society portrays them as strong, unshakable, and independent. They should be successful in their careers, provide for their families, and yet at the same time have an attractive, exciting charisma. This pressure can be enormous and leads to internal conflicts for many men. The male role model, especially the traditional image of masculinity, also includes men viewing their sexual conquests as signs of status and strength. Although this idea has changed in modern times, there is still a subtle belief in many societies and social circles that a real man could or should have multiple wives. Playing with infidelity becomes an ego boost, a confirmation of one's own worth. Infidelity becomes a way for many men to prove their masculinity, be it to themselves or to their friends. The infidelity becomes a silent expression of her role as conqueror, even if it only takes place in her thoughts. Emotional distance and communication problems. Another common psychological motive for infidelity in men is emotional distance. Many men find it difficult to talk about their feelings and build an invisible wall in their relationships. They often feel misunderstood or not heard properly. If they feel like their partner isn't meeting their emotional needs or understanding them, they may look outside the relationship for someone to fill that void. This often leads to emotional infidelity, which can later become physical. In such cases, an affair often begins as a friendship or emotional connection that gradually intensifies. Cheating then becomes a solution to fill one's emotional emptiness rather than dealing with the real issues in the relationship. Psychological reasons for infidelity in women. When women cheat, there is often more than just sexual desire behind it. In contrast to the classic image of male infidelity, which is often motivated by lust, women often seek emotional fulfillment through infidelity. They want to be seen, heard, loved, in a way that they no longer experience in
Um,
their current relationship. The
what's
emotional
this?
deficiency, the heart longs for closeness. For many women, emotional intimacy is the core of a relationship. When this closeness is missing, they often begin to question their connection to their partner. While men often seek physical closeness as confirmation of their relationship, for women it is often emotional closeness that is crucial. When the emotional bond in the relationship dwindles, the desire to find it in someone else may arise. Women tend to cheat more emotionally before being physically unfaithful. An intense conversation, shared vulnerability, the feeling of being understood and valued, all of this can lead to a deep connection that then breaks the barriers to physical cheating. Studies show that women who are emotionally neglected in their relationships or feel like their needs are not being heard are more likely to have affairs. Not only are they looking for sexual fulfillment, but also for a partner who understands them on a deeper, emotional level. Self-realization and the desire for more. In recent decades, women have made great strides in society, professionally, socially, and personally. But with these advances also came a change in expectations of relationships. Women today often want more from a relationship than just security and stability. They strive for self-realization and personal fulfillment. When a woman feels restricted or forced into a traditional role in her relationship, this can lead to inner rebellion. This rebellion often takes the form of infidelity, an attempt to reclaim their own identity and independence. Women who feel trapped in their relationship or unable to fulfill themselves sufficiently sometimes look outside the relationship for a way to feel free and independent again. An affair can be a way for women to reconnect with their own desires and dreams outside of the roles imposed on them in the committed relationship. The appeal of the new adventure and passion, while men often fulfill the stereotype of looking for new flesh, a similar phenomenon is also evident among women, especially in long relationships where passion gradually fades. Many women long for the feeling of the new, the unknown. This feeling, which was so intense at the beginning of a relationship, can get lost in the everyday life and routines of the relationship. An affair makes many women feel wanted and alive again. The sizzle, the forbidden meetings, the passionate looks. All of this reminds her of a time when love was exciting and unpredictable. Unlike men who may primarily seek sexual fulfillment, women often seek the combination of emotional and sexual intimacy. An affair offers them both the adventure of passion and the emotional closeness that they miss in their current relationship. The search for revenge and justice. Another psychological factor that can lead women to infidelity is the need for revenge. Women who have been cheated on or feel that they have not been treated fairly in their relationship sometimes look for a way to pay back for the pain they themselves have suffered. The affair thus becomes a means of compensating for one's own anger or feeling of injustice. Infidelity as revenge is rarely a solution, but for many women, it is a way to give back the pain caused to them in their own way. It's a silent cry for justice, even if they know the price is high. Be unfaithful. Motivations are diverse and reflect the need for emotional fulfillment, validation, freedom, or simply an escape from unresolved relationship problems. The dynamics of modern relationships and infidelity. What has changed? The rules of love have changed. We live in an era where relationships are more flexible, where people place higher demands on their relationships, and where technology has made temptation easier to access. Infidelity is no longer an exception. It is part of a complex modern relationship landscape. The way people conduct relationships has changed significantly over the last few decades. Gone are the days when marriage and monogamous relationships were the only accepted forms of coexistence. Today, there is a wider range of relationship models, from open relationships to polyamory to conscious monogamy. The pressure of perfection. Are our expectations too high? Modern relationships are often under enormous pressure. In contrast to previous generations, in which marriage and relationships primarily served social stability and economic security, today we expect much more from our partners. We want him to be our best friend, our lover, our emotional rock, our adventure and life partner, all in one person. It's an incredible burden that lies on the shoulders of modern relationships. We want it all. But is that even realistic? Many couples fail because of these high expectations. When one partner feels that their needs, emotional, sexual, or intellectual, are not being met, a feeling of dissatisfaction often arises. In the past, this problem may have been accepted, but in today's world, when personal fulfillment and happiness are so valued, many people are looking for a solution, and that solution may be infidelity. The increasing demands on the partnership paradoxically lead to an increase in the risk of infidelity. We want perfection, and if our relationship doesn't provide it, we may look for it elsewhere. Open relationships in polyamory. A solution to infidelity. In the course of the discussion about infidelity, the question arises as to whether open relationships or polyamory could be a solution. In open relationships, partners allow each other to have sexual contact outside of the relationship, while polyamory is the concept of having more than one emotional relationship with the knowledge and consent of everyone involved. If infidelity is the problem, why not just change the rules? Why not redefine monogamy and be open to other ways of loving and living? For some people, these types of relationships actually offer a way to fulfill the needs for variety and adventure without hurting your partner. Openness and communication are the central elements here. But these models are not a panacea either. Many open relationships fail when jealousy or unequal expectations come into play. Interestingly, studies show that people in open or polyamorous relationships are less likely to be unfaithful because they can express their needs for variety and fulfillment in an agreed-upon way. But the same applies here. These types of relationships require a high level of emotional maturity and communication. The role of technology, the impact of dating apps and social media. We have already discussed that the digital world has changed the dynamics of relationships. Dating apps such as Tinder, Bumble, or Grindr in particular have the potential to shake the understanding of loyalty in relationships. Easy access to new people and potential affairs lowers the inhibition threshold for infidelity. Temptation is just a swipe away. In a world where the next temptation is just a click away, loyalty becomes an even greater act of will. But it's not just the classic dating apps that can lead to infidelity. Social media like Instagram or Facebook also contribute to this. An innocent flirtation via direct messages, rekindling old acquaintances, or even checking out what's waiting for you out there can open the door to infidelity. The anonymity and rapid access that the internet offers make it difficult to resist temptation. Studies show that people who regularly use social media and dating apps tend to be more willing to cheat in relationships. Partners who are particularly emotionally stressed or dissatisfied are more susceptible to these digital temptations. Pornography and its influence on the understanding of loyalty. Another modern phenomenon that is often discussed in connection with infidelity is pornography. Pornography consumption is a sensitive topic in many relationships. Some couples don't see this as a problem, while others see it as a form of infidelity. For many people, excessive consumption of pornography can distort their perception of sexuality. This creates unrealistic expectations of your partner, which can lead to dissatisfaction in the relationship. This may also be why some people who regularly consume pornography eventually develop the need to seek new stimuli outside of their relationship. Pornography creates a world of fantasy, and for some, this fantasy is not enough. They want to live it out in real life. While pornography does not necessarily lead to infidelity, consumption can make some people want new sexual experiences and adventures that they are not experiencing in their current relationship. Secret online worlds, cyber affairs, and virtual infidelity. In the digital era, there is another form of infidelity that often remains invisible: cyber affairs. This is less about physical closeness and more about emotional and sexual connections that arise online. Exchanging intimate messages, sending pictures, or even living out fantasies virtually can lead to emotional distance in real relationships. An affair doesn't always have to be physical to destroy trust. Sometimes it's enough for someone to share their heart or their deepest secrets with another person, even if they can only be reached via the screen. For many couples, a cyber affair is just as hurtful as an actual affair. It creates a rift in the relationship and can shake the foundation of trust. The virtual world offers an opportunity for escape that previously did not exist in this form, and it makes it more difficult to set clear boundaries. The consequences of infidelity, the emotional cost. Infidelity is like a dagger to the heart of the relationship. Sometimes it is survived, sometimes not, but it always leaves scars. Infidelity can have devastating effects on a relationship, regardless of whether the infidelity was a one-time affair or occurred over a long period of time. It shatters the trust between partners and causes deep emotional injuries. Trust destroyed. Can a relationship survive? The foundation of every relationship is trust. When that trust is broken through infidelity, the question becomes, can you ever go back to where you were? For many couples, the path to healing is difficult and full of uncertainty. The betrayed person has to deal with a wave of emotions: anger, pain, insecurity, and doubt. The fraudster, on the other hand, not only has to deal with his own guilt, but also with the challenge of rebuilding trust. It takes years to build trust and only seconds to destroy it. Some couples manage to get back together after an affair, but this requires time, patience, and above all, openness. Therapy can help to heal the deep wounds and create a new basis of trust. But in many cases, the relationship remains permanently damaged, and the pain can no longer be overcome. The cheater's emotional roller coaster. While the focus is often on the partner who was cheated on, what is often forgotten is that the one who was unfaithful also struggles with strong emotions. Feelings of guilt, shame, and remorse often accompany the cheater long after the affair has ended. For many people who have been unfaithful, infidelity is a source of deep inner conflict. They realize that their decision has not only destroyed their partner, but also themselves. The excitement of the affair may have been exciting, but the emotional burden that follows can be overwhelming. Impact on children and family. When an affair is discovered in a relationship with children, it often has far-reaching consequences. Infidelity leaves traces that cut deep into the soul. Sometimes they fade, sometimes they remain visible forever, like scars that are always a reminder of the experience. Infidelity is a decision that is rarely without consequences. It raises questions that go far beyond the relationship, questions about trust, self-worth, and how to deal with your own needs. While some relationships weather the storm and emerge stronger, others fall apart. It's not just about who cheats more, man or woman. It's about why we often do things in love that destroy ourselves, and how we find the strength to either forgive or move on. At the end of the day, every relationship is an individual journey, full of ups and downs. Infidelity may be the deepest valley a couple can go through, but it is not necessarily the end. For some, it becomes an opportunity to understand their own relationship on a deeper level. For others, it means the end and a new beginning. Sometimes something breaks, and it stays destroyed forever. But sometimes the shards can be used to form something new that is stronger and more beautiful than before. The decision always lies with those involved. Whether forgiveness is possible or the path continues separately, what remains is the realization that love is a fragile, precious commodity. It demands our attention, our trust, and sometimes a willingness to heal the most painful wounds. Infidelity may be the darkest side of love, but it also shows us what really matters to us. In the hurt lies the opportunity for change and the true understanding